You already know that logic and manifestation don't go hand in hand. Logic is that thing that comes in pretending to be a friend, but it is one of your worst enemies when it comes to manifestation. And in this video, I am going to explain why and, of course, give you solutions for that. I know that many of you see yourselves as very logical people. I see your comments. I have had this question many times. But Anna, I am a very logical person. I need a logical reason in order to believe my manifestation, etc., etc. First of all, you don't need to believe your manifestation, at least at first. I have many videos about that that you can check out. This video is not going to be about that. This video is going to be about logic and how that is in the way of your manifestation. And of course, what to do about it. Because if I'm going to tell you not to do something, I have to give you something to replace it with. And we're going to do that. If you need a more personalized help with your manifestation, you can of course book a one-on-one coaching with me from the link in the description box below, or you can join one of my Master Manifestor Mastermind groups. In that case, please send me an email from my booking page, and let's talk about logic and why that is completely anti-manifestation. First of all, we need to remember that our experience in our 3D is all manifestation. So everything is manifestation. Anything that is anti-manifestation is not natural, because this is Neville Goddard's words, that it goes against the nature of things. The nature of things being imagination is being pushed out, creating your physical reality. What is logic here? Logic is learned. It's learned behavior. It's a learned thought pattern more than behavior. Every time you think logically, that is something that someone has taught you to think that way. Logic is for people who don't know that we are manifesting. What logic does is, and I need to bring in Joe Dispenza here. He often talks about a predictable future, in the sense that when you start having a desire and you start manifesting something, your mind, what it does, it starts the programmed part of your mind, or your mind is programmed. What am I talking about? So your mind is programmed and reprogrammable at all times, at all ages. So when you start having a desire and you want to manifest that, what your mind does is that it starts predicting the outcome based on your past experiences, based on what you already know, based on what is already programmed. So what logic does is that it tries to keep you where you are, because the new thing is unknown. It's sort of unsafe. We don't know, even though it's beautiful and good. But this is why we also have resistance. It's the same reason we have resistance. It's the same reason we have negative thoughts, the spiraling, etc. Logic is part of that. Logic is simply trying to talk you out of doing or thinking or imagining that new thing, so that you keep staying in your current programming. This is why I'm saying it comes in as a friend, as to help you. Hey, don't do that. That's dangerous. You're going to fail. It's going to be worse. What it does simply is talking you out of manifesting your desires. So let me give you some examples. You could be someone who has always had bad relationships. Now, you fall in love with someone new, you would like that relationship to work and to be good. What does your mind do? It starts talking you out of it. Hey, do you remember those other times that it didn't go well? Do you remember those other times that you were hurt, etc., etc.? That's logic. It's logical, because if I have always been hurt and being treated like this, why would I be treated with kindness and love now? And that is entirely true if you keep your current programming. The same can be said about money. You could be someone who has always struggled with money. And you can be 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, 100 years old now. And for all those 100 years, you could have struggled with money. And now you have a desire to have an abundant, rich life and a lot of money. Logic says, why would you? Because you haven't been able to create that for all those years. So why would you now? Obviously, it will bring up all the excuses and explanations as to why it won't work. This is the predictable future that Joe Dispenza talks about. So your mind predicts the future based on the past. Why is this anti-manifestation? Because manifestation doesn't work based on the past. Manifestation doesn't work based on your current experiences either. Manifestation doesn't work based on your physical circumstances. Manifestation works based on what you choose to think as true, think and assume and imagine as true from now. Now is the moment that you have to manifest. In 5 minutes, it will still be now. So when you are thinking and remembering your past experiences, that's not in the past, that is in the now, because you are imagining that now. So therefore, whenever you are trying to be logical, and those of you who have all those logical experiences as to why your SP behaved that way, why you were rejected at that job, or why you can't lose weight, or why you can't be healthy, whatever it is, all of that is you create the meaning of the circumstance based on your current assumptions. So it's simply your programming coming to the surface, pretending to be a friend, but in reality talking you out of your manifestation. Therefore, logic is absolutely nonsense. And the problem with that, or one of many problems with logic, is that we have learned that logical is good. Not logical is bad. So when you remember your past experience and come to the conclusion that it's just logical that it's going to go the same way now, that you are also programmed to believe that that's good, because now you have made a clever decision. Now you have come to a clever conclusion. That's simply your old story talking. And on the other hand, imagining something completely different that you have never experienced, perhaps, that's bad. You have been programmed to believe that that's a bad thing. You're being unreasonable. So we need to disrupt the pattern, and we need to change our thought patterns also, because what I suggest you do is something similar to this. Every time you recognize the pattern that now you are thinking logically, now you're overanalyzing to figure out a logical, reasonable reason why that happened or why something can't happen, you have to notice that you're doing it. And then you stop yourself and you tell yourself, okay, logic here, and this is learned. I have learned to think this way. It's not the ultimate truth. Logic is one of those things that can seem like the ultimate truth because we have the past experiences to prove that, we have the current circumstances to prove that. None of it is proof for what you can have. None of it is proof for what you can manifest. Because I was bringing the example of maybe 100 years old person never having money. If that person, in those 100 years, which in our current experience is a long time, with questionable, but that's what we are currently experiencing. If that person from now on started imagining their life being different, there's nothing that will stop the money to flow in. If you have never had beautiful experiences with your relationships in your life ever, if you start right now to imagine beautiful relationships, Nothing can stop that from happening. Even with the same person, you can have had bad experience with your specific person, that same person. If you start imagining them being different toward you and your experience with them being different, nothing is going to stop that from manifesting. Not your logic, not your logical experiences, not the past experiences, not the current circumstances, nothing. So therefore, when you notice you're being logical, remind yourself that, okay, I know, I'm just finding excuses to talk myself out of my manifestation. Why am I doing that to myself? And how does manifestation work? Manifestation works based on what you are imagining / thinking and persisting in. If you persist in an imaginal act or a thought, also known as affirmations, etc., instead of persisting in the old, which is what you do with your logic, this new story will become your truth. It will become your thought pattern. It will become your programming, your new programming. It will become the only possibility for you to experience. And when that happens in your mind, it has to be pushed out in the 3D. Sometimes, you start getting movement and stuff starts happening before you even realize whether you believe it or not. So don't get too caught up on that. Simply persist in the story. This is why logic has nothing to do with how things work. And I would argue that manifestation is logical. I have become so used to thinking as everything depends on me and I am the creator, the manifester of all this. So I can't expect this to change unless I change. That whenever there's a problem, I know that I need to go and fix my thinking about it. And that now has become such a habit that's logical. That's the only logic that I can work with, because it is very logical when you get used to this, that if there's a problem, I have that assumption. So I change my assumption, the circumstance changes. This is why I say logic is learned. So long story short, you have become used to thinking about the things based on your past patterns. That is exactly why we want to disrupt and change and replace. So when you are being logical, it's not because you are thinking in the right way. It's not the right way. It's the learned way. Therefore, you don't have to continue with that because your logic is keeping you where you are. That's the purpose of it. Because that's simply what the mind does. It just finds ways to keep you comfortable where you are. But it can be changed, and without struggles. You don't have to struggle. When I say changing the patterns, that your mind wants to keep you in the old patterns and you need to think differently in order to change that. It becomes a struggle when you, as Neville says, go against the nature of things, when you cling on to the old story and you don't want to let it go, like, no, this is the truth. This person hurt me, or I have never been able to make money. If you keep telling that story, it's going to be a struggle to change it, because you do back and forth, you get yourself exhausted, and you stop believing in manifestation. This is a pattern that I see from many of you guys from the comments. So what you do is, again, every time you're being logical, stop yourself and ask this question: whatever I'm imagining now, whatever I'm doing in my mind, is this something I want to experience? If not, then I will stop doing this, because I love and respect myself, and I'm not going to continuously imagine stuff that I don't want to experience, because if I persist in it, it is going to manifest, and I don't want to do that to myself. Therefore, I'm stopping that now. I realize this is the old story, so what do I want instead? So instead, you start imagining or affirming your new story as if that's already true. That's the only thing you need to do. limiting beliefs will come up, resistance will come up, etc. You work with that. You do the same process with every kind of resistance to your new story that comes up. And you stay persistent with that, and it will change, because that's simply how the mind works. Whatever you keep telling the most, that is what your mind accepts as true, and it doesn't ask questions whether it's actually true in the reality or it's true based on your past. It doesn't matter. Your mind is not asking questions. So always remember that logic is learned, and manifestation doesn't work based on what happened in your life up until this point. Manifestation works based on what you keep imagining and thinking as true from now on. Keep persisting in that. You don't need logic. It's not good, especially when it comes to manifestation. Like, I don't know, when you're building a building and you're an engineer, logic might have a different purpose there, but when you are consciously manifesting something good to happen in your reality, logic is not your friend. Get rid of it. And something important that I was almost about to forget: stop affirming that you're a logical person, you need a logical explanation. No, you don't. No, you don't. That is an assumption that you have about yourself. You're not a logical person. Or I mean, create the assumption that you want, right? But when you have this thought that, oh, I'm a logical person, so I need a logical explanation. No, you don't. And no, you're not. You are a conscious manifester who knows how manifestation works, who knows that it's either this story or that story. It always comes down to that. It's either this story or that story, whichever one you're persisting in. So logic is completely anti-manifestation. It's learned pattern, and you don't have to keep doing that. I really hope this helped. Comment down below if you have other questions about logic and logical thinking when it comes to manifestation. I think manifestation is very, very logical. You keep imagining it, it has to manifest. That's it. That's law. We have all seen it happen many times. You have too. I know that you have manifested things consciously, because everything else is still manifestation, but it has been unconsciously until we discovered that that is how it works. If you need a more personalized help with your manifestation, you can of course book a one-on-one coaching with me from the link in the description box below. I would love to help you with anything that you are manifesting. And you can join one of my Master Manifestor Mastermind groups. In that case, send me an email from my booking page so that we find a group that is comfortable for your time zone. Have a beautiful day and see you in the next video.